Hey, what is up, everybody? It's your boy Kane, and we got another hit piece, another poorly written, uncited hit piece. This is by this guy, Noah Berlatsky. I read it. It's garbage. It's unsubstantiated. And I thought I would send the guy a little tweet this morning and, asking him. He made a statement, and here's the statement in his article. And I sent him a tweet. I asked him, at what point did Diversity in Comics Richard Myers say that these things that he claimed? Well, in the fashion of a 16-year-old girl, he responded with some gif of seals fighting, I don't know, barking at each other or some other stuff. So, congratulations. You get your own video. I'm about to pick apart your entire stupid article. I really hope you did that for free, because if they paid you for it, oh my God, they wasted their money. So yeah, here we go. Here's his Twitter. Please, nobody contact him and harass him. Don't bug the guy. If you contact him, please ask him to cite where Diversity in Comics said that he wanted to get women, people of color, and minorities out of comics. I think that question should be answered by him if he's gonna make money and write articles about that. But here we go, paragraph 1. Okay, you brought up Chelsea Kane. I'm really glad you did, because her run on Mockingbird was probably the height of the heavy-handed politics and agenda pushing in Marvel Comics. And, on Twitter, she presents herself as a feminist and, really just I believe she's referred to herself as a pain in the ass a few times. And I don't really think that went over very well with comic book readers. I've read her Mockingbird run. It was boring. It's basically a tale of a Mary Sue, and I believe the readers agreed with me as I'm putting here the numbers of selling. Political grandstanding and, representationalism of feminism and feminist ideas are great. But at some point in this entertainment industry, you have to entertain. And in an ironic twist, today the news has just hit from Bounding Into Comics, which is a real comic book nerd news site. Everybody should be checking them. It's a much better site than the Washington Post and has much better writers than this one. But her Vision series, after the results from the pre-orders from comic shops, incredibly low, has been canceled before. And here she is in a tweet saying that Marvel asked her to stay quiet about it. But there she is. She was referring to herself as a pain in the ass. Once again, the market has spoken. I know you don't like it. I know you guys love this socialist approach to the comic book industry. But like I said before, at some point in this industry of entertainment, you have to entertain. Next is the Milkshake Girls, a favorite of the SJWs in comics complaint. Here's the thing about this is you say that there were a lot of salty tweets. You never have screen caps of them. You never really show the horrible things that were said, because if there's one thing that ComicsGate does is we police ourselves. When we go a little too far, there's been times where people have contacted D&C and Captain Cummings and said, hey, got a little too salty there, pump the brakes. Because that's one thing that the ComicsGate movement actually does, is we police ourselves. Right here are probably some of the more salty tweets that you could find. Really, honestly, if you said this in high school, you probably wouldn't even get sent to detention for it. They're mildly salty, but nothing really over the top. But you are using this person, and I did go do a little more footwork than you did, who I guess you're a journalist, sort of. I tried to track down the person who made this tweet, but his account has been suspended, so there's the system policing itself. Here's the problem with the whole milkshake incident. And by the way, all of the people involved in that, I think except for one, are gone from Marvel, because that manufactured controversy, what it did is that same month they were trying to end their horrible secret empire series storyline. It was horrible. It was probably one of the worst and worst selling of all. But the manufactured controversy of the Milkshake Girls sucked all of the air out, and I really don't think it hurt it that much. But Marvel seemed to think so, because everybody involved in that picture, every one of the quote unquote Milkshake Girls, yeah, they're no longer there. So you can talk to Marvel on that one. Oh, but here's the thing, plot twist. In a video that D&C put up recently, he has apologized to Heather Antos for any distress that he has caused her. You kind of left that out of your article, but we know that didn't fit what you were trying to do. As well as Mags Visaggio that you bring up, he's also stopped misgendering her and has apologized for misgendering her. So, but I'm glad you brought up Mags. I'm glad you brought Mags into this. Here's the thing about Richard, Diversity in Comics, and Mags Visaggio. Diversity in Comics is probably the world's foremost expert on the writing of Mags Visaggio. And in an added bonus, Diversity in Comics does something that all the people who claim to support Mags and to love the writing of Mags Visaggio, he does something that they all forget to do. He goes to a comic shop and he buys her comics. Oh Shit, It's Kim and Kim, which is Mags's newest book, just came out back in July, and it sold about 1,800. That's data coming from Comicron.com, which is a research site for comics that are printed and shipped. But you wouldn't know a whole lot about research, would you? Next up is your mention of Eve Ewing. Now, Eve Ewing is a very unique situation in Marvel, and I've done a video on her recently. This writer has come to us because of a change.org petition, which was a failed petition, by the way, because she is similar to the character. The person who started this thought that she should be perfect for writing it. Some of the reasons that they list were her appearance. She's from Chicago. Her dad wrote a weekly comic, which, nepotism, we're going to go with nepotism now to pick comic book writers. If that's the case, Marvel, just shut your doors right now, because, ooh, man. But I did say that I hope she does well. I hope she bucks the trend. But the problem is the trend at Marvel in recent years has been pulling writers from YA, pulling activists, Ta-Nehisi Coates, who has had a lot of failed and canceled series. But here's the thing about Ta-Nehisi Coates. He's kind of turned the corner. His two books right now, Captain America and Black Panther, are actually pretty good stories right now. So in my video, I do say that I hope Eve Ewing is something different. I hope she does well, because the character of Riri Williams is interesting, but the circumstance that we wound up with Eve Ewing, who, by the way, if you go through her Twitter over the last couple years, you will find nothing about comic books until the announcement of this. So she had no interest in being in comic books until this failed petition came along. So now we get to the point where, once again, an SJW writer misconstrues criticism with harassment. This is where you've said that D&C has harassed people for a very long time. I really don't think so. If you watch any of his videos, you'll find that they are criticism. And you talk about here how his book Jawbreakers was dropped from Antarctic Press. And I'm really glad you brought that up, because it brings us to the next subject of Mark Waid. The reason why this was dropped at Antarctic Press was from the pressure put on by Mark Waid. Here we have the Facebook post where he was calling to talk to Antarctic Press about this. And Mark Waid seems to have a lot of weight in the industry because he wrote some very, very influential books 20 years ago. But he seems to have a history of attacking small publishers out there. So you, once again, purposefully left that part out. And going back to harassment, you think, I wonder if D&C has ever done anything to say, any posts or in any of his videos, do not harass people, do not contact people. Oh, yes, that's right. Here's the post, which you once again purposefully left out. Let's talk about harassment. Here's Tim Doyle, a very vocal critic of diversity in comics, of the entire ComicsGate movement. Oh, wow, he's advocating hitting somebody with a sack of doorknobs. Here's another one where a person at IDW, one of the management of IDW, says, oh, did you punch her in the face? Michelle Perez threatening to make Myers a quadriplegic. And, they have quite a history of violent harassment from Michelle Perez and other people. Also, getting back to Mark Waid, if you had done, any balanced research, you would have found that Mark Waid at Baltimore Comic-Con asked people there that if they saw diversity in comics to come and get him specifically. I wonder what he planned on doing if diversity in comics had shown up there. There's also Facebook posts where creators were getting together and having these little fantasy plots of triggering his PTSD and causing a fight with him and knocking him out 80s movie bully style. There's just so much that you've left out. Now, I'm glad you got to Darryl AO. Darryl AO is kind of an interesting figure in that you say that EVS orchestrated enough abuse to chase him off of social media. Except, if you go look for him on Twitter, there he is on social media. So, were you lying? Just probably misconstruing the thing again. You also left out the part where Darryl AO had called EVS a Nazi for about 6 months every day, even with no proof and no justification for it. You see, you apparently left that part out. But Darryl AO is an interesting character because we started mocking his stupid comics that he does, his stupid web comics. But after a little while, they were so hilariously bad that we actually started to enjoy them. So Darryl AO is kind of a favorite amongst ComicsGate now. This is back to the paragraph that started this all. Once again, I ask you, citation needed. And I know you won't show it because you can't show it because they've never said that. ComicsGate wants a merit-based system in comic books. But here you go, you talk about people who've been harassed. There's been a lot more harassment from leftists. Just ask Peter Smeddy. Just ask John Malin. Just ask, basically, we've gotten to the point, it's sort of a Soviet-era type of instance where you're either completely for the party or there's something suspicious about you and you may be an enemy of the state. We've seen Heather Antos go after Tom King for these things. Look, Noah, I could go on for a very long time on the things that you forgot to cover. You forgot to talk to anybody from ComicsGate, but I'm sure that was purposeful because here's the problem. When you do talk to people from ComicsGate, you find out that they're normal people, that they're people who actually buy comics. And that is not what you want to portray us as. The scariest thing for SJWs is, especially in comics, is for the higher-ups, the EICs, to find out who their actual customers are. They'll realize that these far-left wackos are not buying comics. And also, some things that you left out were the decline in sales over the past 4 years. Look, comic books have tried it your way. We've tried the empty representationalism. We've tried the heavy-handed left-wing politics. And what has happened? You have a fan movement that is very much against these leftists in the industry, and you have diminishing sales. If for any example, why don't you just go look at IDW over the past 12 months? They have been an absolute dumpster fire, but you're not really interested in facts or numbers, are you? It's almost like you have a political agenda to push. Now, I'm not going to spend any more time on your level of yellow journalism, but I want you to reflect on something. Whenever somebody says fake news, now granted you're not reporting on politics. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine if you reported on politics, how slanted and horrible that would be. But when people say fake news, I want you to remember, you're the problem. It's articles like this that have an agenda, that are purposefully leaving things out. You, Noah Berlatsky, are fake news. That's all I got. I'm Nerd Kane. I hope you liked this video. If you did, hit a like, hit a subscribe. Don't harass Noah Berlatsky. If you contact him, just ask him to show some citation where EVS or D&C said that they wanted people of color and women out of comics, because I don't think he can show that. But